which is Veganism, Myth, and Truth. Myth versus Truth. So I'm going to read these off. The first one is, it's hard to get enough protein on a plant-based diet.
Oh boy.
What do you think of that?
The average American eats 2 to 3 times more protein than they actually need on every single day. Everything has protein in it.
Mm-hmm.
Protein is the structure of what holds stuff together. So everything has to have protein in it. And so this whole myth of not getting enough protein. Who's the last person in this country that died because they did not have enough protein?
Exactly.
Name one. You probably have to go back 200-300 years with someone who it just does not exist. Nobody is dying because they have not had enough protein in their diet. People are dying of is too much fat, sugar, salt. This is what's killing us.
Exactly.
Why is it the first thing come out of our mouth is, am I getting enough protein? It's an absolute myth.
I don't even know what someone looks like who's missing protein.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
good
just like
question.
you were saying.
Right.
Good question. I don't even.
Right.
We don't.
But they have implanted that in our heads.
Yes.
That's an issue.
Yes.
Because that's the first thing I was asked. One of the first things I was asked when I became a vegetarian. They were like, well, where are you going to get your protein from? You going to eat a lot of beans? What are you going to do?
I mean, sources of protein are beans and peas. There's nuts. There's things like soy,
nuts.
in terms of tofu,
Yes.
and I know people have their. I don't know where this came from. All of a sudden, this whole issue
But
about
it's soy because they don't want us to be vegan. They don't want us to eat soy. They want us to eat meat. So they're going to keep coming up with these myths. That's what I believe anyway. So myth number 2, vegans only eat vegetables and foods that taste terrible. I know you believe that one, right?
Well, that's a lie because I just had the eggs for the first time here.
Tofu
And
scrambled.
they were delicious.
If you can cook, then you can cook vegan because it's all who eats meat without spices on it. And so if you know how to put spices and herbs and pungents like garlic and onions, apply it to vegetables or apply it to different beans and nuts and seeds and stuff like that. When I first became vegan, we go out to eat. They would give us a plate of steamed vegetables, no salt, no oil, no herbs or anything. I'm like, really? Just all you gotta do is just you can put herbs on vegetables. You can put salt and oils on vegetables.
They thought vegan meant no seasoning.
Just
I don't know what they thought it meant.
Yeah.
They just thought it meant it's very bad, so let's just give them something bad.
Right.
It's not supposed to taste good, so let's give them something bad. I still go to places where I have to order from the sides.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I love coming to a vegan restaurant because I can eat anything on the menu. I love that. So it's a myth. It doesn't taste terrible. It's not just vegetables. There's grains and there's all kinds of things that you can eat other than vegetables. So myth number 3, there is no proof that a plant-based diet is healthier than other diets.
This is a good question. That is not true. There is a study that was done that showcased Seventh-day Adventists, because Seventh-day Adventists as a culture, a lot of them are at least vegetarian, and they showed that on average that they lived 5 years longer than the typical standard American diet. And so I know that is one study.
Also,
That's true,
there's
I
another
think.
study that showed no one's actually come out of became better, like come out of a disease like diabetes or having heart issues from any other diet than vegan.
I knew a coworker who did plant-based for 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So she was just starting into the real estate industry. She works out. She probably could be a trainer if she wanted to, but it was about that 30-day challenge, trying to absorb and digest certain information different way from what she's been digesting, because she wanted to get out there in that industry aggressively. And she knew that she was working all these hours where we work, but she needed to do this too. And so someone said, you should think about going plant-based for about 30 days. I'm gonna guarantee you, you're gonna be able to absorb more. And she said it works. And now she's been living that lifestyle for 6 months.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
That's awesome.
It
So, and like I was saying, you don't know what's gonna maybe make you transition,
Right.
Because she wasn't probably
She wasn't-
expecting to.
Right.
But
She watched
after doing it and feeling that great,
That's what she said.
you don't want to go back. Okay, now we're on myth number 4. You'll get weak and frail on a vegan diet. So I have to say, when I did turn vegetarian, I don't know what was going on. I don't know if my body was just like in shock. I'm not sure, but I did have a moment where things were weird, not quite the same. I was a little off.
I can
And then I
understand
started taking B vitamins, and then I was better. I don't, and sometimes, you know, you hear so much that this could happen. Sometimes it happens because you think it's gonna happen. I'm not sure what was going on, but, and it never came back. It was like, it happened, I must have been maybe even a month in when it happened.
Probably makes sense though.
Yeah.
Your body trying to adjust.
Exactly.
That
what
makes
it
sense,
sounds
right?
like,
That
yeah.
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That is true.
Did that happen
here's,
to you?
here's what I think is important when you're transitioning your diet is to be self-aware. Being self-aware is very important, not just when you're first starting, but throughout the whole transition and even after. You know, once you're in full-fledged vegan, being self-aware, understanding, you know, how do I feel every day, just because you may find that you may need, you know, to up your iron intake, you know, so you maybe take more burdock wood or something like that. But you know, some of the world's strongest, some of the best athletes in the world are vegan. The world's strongest man is a vegan.
Yeah.
Some of the best triathletes are vegan. And so it's just a matter of understanding, getting the right information, understanding your diet, understanding who you are, how you should feel, and you're going to feel differently. If you've been on a certain diet all your life, and all of a sudden you make this transition, you may have some discomfort in the first few days,
Yes,
the first couple of
makes
weeks,
sense.
because your body is detoxifying, it's making the adjustment. So there may be some changes
Yeah.
early on. I know when I made my transition, the first 3 days, there was stuff coming out of both ends. And I know that's too much information, but at the end of the third day, it was just like this calmness, this peacefulness, this energy level that I never had before. And then after that, I was fine. I just settled into a cycle, settled into a pattern, and then it was fine.
But with you saying that you had stuff coming out of both ends, a lot of times when people eat vegan foods or whatever, and they have that problem, they're like, oh, the food must have been bad. No, your
right.
body is just going through a
transition
cleansing phase
yeah.
at that
Cleansing.
point. And you know, and the first thing they say is, I'm not going to do that again because I was running to the bathroom. That's what you were supposed to do.
I want to do it again.
I know, that's what you should be doing.
I want to run.
I think people want to do it. They want to do what they want to do, even if they think this is good for them. As soon as there is something that gives them some validation, like, yes, I knew it wasn't good for me, or I just can't do vegan. I know vegan's good, but I can't do it because my body, it doesn't work for me. I've heard this.
Yes.
I mean, it's someone similar to my experience. They had the similar experience, and they were like, nope, can't do it. I'm done. Tried. I did try. But does that change anything you tried? I mean, like, you still not eating, you still dealing with the same thing.
Same issues.
So,
issues, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it's just easier. It's easier to accept this as truth than to figure out how to move past it. Like I said, I went and found vitamins, and I was like, no, I'm not stopping. I just need to figure out how to make this work.
Exactly.
Okay, so only rich people go vegan. It's just too expensive.
That's
That's
the
a lie.
biggest myth. That's one of the biggest myths.
You know, it can be expensive. Just like if you go to college, you can go to a private college or you go to a state college, you get an education. So it's up to you how you want to go vegan, you know, and you don't, and you have to really push it to go spending all that money, you know. Go to Whole Foods every day, don't buy anything on sale.
Meat costs more than vegetables.
Is that?
One bag of lentils is going to cost you like $1.89. From that 1 pound bag of lentils, you can make 20 burgers.
Wow.
20 burgers.
Give me the recipe. Number 6, we need milk and dairy products for strong bones. What do you think about that?
Oh boy, here come more of the marketing myth. Sesame seeds are very high in calcium. Broccoli is very high in calcium. So there are other things that what you should be researching is what other foods are out there that are high in calcium that don't come from animals. They don't come from animals.
Right.
And so that's what you have to look at.
This is the 7th myth, and this is one of my favorite because I hear something very similar to this often. So my 85-year-old grandma, uncle, friend, whoever, loves meat and is alive and healthy. That's proof that meat is healthy. You know how many times people have said, you know, this one exception. They find this one exception when there's this whole group of people having this other scenario, but there's one exception. And now, once again, what we were talking about, all you need is one thing to give you what you want, which is to continue to eat meat. That's, oh yes, okay, I'll do that. That's, oh, they drank, they smoked, they did all this their whole life, and they lived to be 95. So why do I have to change my diet? It's not about that. It's not about changing lifestyle. It's just about this one individual that happened to live that long.
And that was their genes.
Exactly.
It's like winning the lottery. You gonna risk winning the lottery?
I think a lot of that has to go through. You know, my dad lived to be 92. My mom was 90. My mom's 92 now, and the folks from that generation were raised differently.
Yes.
That's so true.
What they ate, what they ate, what the foundation for their building blocks was different from what we have now.
Yep.
They grew a lot of what they or farmed a lot of what they ate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they grew their own food, they raised their own meat. So it was just a different. They were set off on a different cycle. Those folks are cut from a different cloth because of how. You know, there was no such thing as organic back then. It was just produce was produce. It wasn't organic produce. They didn't use pesticides and all that stuff on their food.
This
back
whole
then.
thing became more pesticides to your veggies and everything. It's like 25 years young, you know.
Right.
So,
So you
we're dealing
cannot
with a
compare
whole
the
different-
results of how they were brought up. Then the quality of food is not the same.
And the
as everybody.
hormones weren't in the meats.
Exactly.
The hormones weren't in the meat.
How the soil was treated, how it wasn't
The
hormones
soil,
in the
yeah.
product. You know, all these things that
Right.
that we see, the nutrition that was in the soil then is not the same. It's not the nutrition that's in the soil now.
They didn't deal with prescriptions being dumped in the waters that we
Right.
deal with. And,
It's a
we
whole
have
other set.
Frankenfish and all of this that's going on. That's so they didn't have the same issues that we're having now. The way that food.
So we have mutant fish.
Oh, that's a whole
Well,
other
that's a whole
subject.
other
She said, I like the way you said it, Frankenfish.
You know, I'm confused.
That's why I suggested mutant fish.
You know, you look at when you see farm-raised catfish, you should run for the hills. You have a farm. You think about farm, it's a pool of where fish
Fish in the
swim in
same
their
water.
own feces
Wow.
and waste, and get fed antibiotics and growth hormones that allow them to. It is like the worst thing you could possibly eat.
That is so wild because people are sold on it.
Because they said
They
it's
are
better.
sold on it. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, there are ways that you can raise fish in a farm if it's like in the middle of the lake and you netted it off. kind of
Exactly.
thing. But if it's in a big tank, and it's just that it's
In
like
some
worse.
factory, you're not
Whoa.
recycling that water.
But that's the same thing goes for how chickens are raised. Same thing for how cows are raised, and they're done in that factory farm setting. And it's just forget about it.
Yeah.
This is a lot. I am overwhelmed. So listen, we are definitely going to include article links in the details section of YouTube, if that's where you're watching it, on the website, if you're watching it there, or Facebook. We're definitely going to have links related to some of these subjects so you can get a little bit more information about some of the things we talked about that we didn't have time to talk about in detail today. So last but not least, number 8 is a plant-based diet is extreme. So I'm going to read what this says, and I just love this answer. Is a plant-based diet extreme? The Western diet guarantees that a half 1 million people in the U.S. each year will have the front half of their bodies divided, their hearts exposed, and then veins taken from their legs and sewed on their heart. Some people will call that extreme.
That is
That
extreme.
is extreme.
I worked.
But no, what they're saying is, it's extreme to eat vegan, but it's not extreme to eat a type of diet where you might have that experience.
It's extreme when you have to have, and I've worked on the telemetry floor, so I know what it's like to see people coming in, even people as young as 18, 19, having to have their arteries unblocked or having veins taken from their leg or from their neck or from their arm, to replace the valve that they had to remove.
Wow.
And it's just, and then dealing with heart transplant patients and seeing what they had to go through on a regular basis and watching, some of the patients. Well, I had one particular one that, it's just seeing someone that has to go through that, with this machine pumping the blood through, an artificial heart just to keep them alive. It's the worst thing to see.
Wow.
The worst thing to see.
That's
So that is extreme versus, being on a plant-based diet, just living your life,
Yeah.
like that on a regular basis.
Well,
That's
And
just-
I think that
that's the
the reason
worst.
that resonated with me so much was because when I was reading, at first I'm like, what are they talking about? Cutting half, it sounds crazy. And then I'm like, oh, they're explaining the heart procedure. Because when you hear about people having a heart procedure, you don't think, like you do, because you experienced it, and that's just a coincidence that I mentioned that and you actually witnessed it. But you don't think about that. Like, that's what they're doing. And you're willing to take a risk of having that happen to you. I don't know.
Well, here's something I think our viewing audience should think about is what are the top Fortune 500 companies? What do they do? They're all based around pharmaceuticals and the sale of drugs. And so when you look at that, if we all became vegan or vegan-ish, what would that do to the distribution of wealth in this country? If we all became healthier and were less reliant upon medication. But also, what is progress in a society? What do we define? Do we see, there's a new hospital just popped up in the neighborhood? So now, does that mean that we have access to better health care? Or does it mean that they have a strong client base from which they can draw from? Every time you see a kidney dialysis center pop up where? In the black communities, is that progress, or is that a sign that we have a strong, steady market that we can draw from, that we need to be here? Why is that? That's what's popular in our neighborhoods. And as long as you see a Sharks or all these, let me just be more generic. As long as you see fast food restaurants proliferate in our communities, you know that there's going to be, you can predict what the outcome is going to be. So I can predict over time that I'm going to need more dialysis clinics, I'm going to need more hospitals, because we know what that outcome is going to be. So we can change the outcome by changing our diets. We can transform our neighborhoods by changing our diet. We can transform the way we think by changing our diet. So there's a lot at stake in change. It's not just about our own personal goals. There's a lot that we can do with changing our diet and transforming our communities. And so looking at it from a broad standpoint is something that I think we should look at.
Well, that's why we need more Majanis. We need more. We definitely need more.
We do need more
Because
vaginas.
you got options.
So we have
that
the
you don't.
option of eating healthy
Yeah.
in the neighborhood, because a lot of folks are confined to those neighborhoods for a variety of reasons. They don't have the resources or the transportation to leave out of the neighborhood the way that some of us do.
Exactly.
So you need to have those options available so that folks that are able, whether you're elderly or whether you don't have the physical means to do it, you got to have those options in your neighborhood in order to allow for the neighborhood to be healthy, a healthy neighborhood. So,
This is awesome.
Yes.
I'm really enjoying this. Now, before we end, I do want to ask my two friends over here, what do you all think? I'm not saying you want to convert, but what do you think after hearing these things today, whether these subjects we talked about, different facts, not myths?
think it's interesting what he just said about how we eat in the hospitals and dialysis centers. If we ate better, it would probably shut those businesses down. And I just think that's interesting. It makes me want to eat better.
Makes you want to eat better? You know what? I like knowing more and more because that helps me do what I'm doing. It makes it easier the more I understand what's actually happening, why this is happening, why we've been told certain things forever, why this actually makes me feel better and why I'm healthy because I'm eating a certain way. So the more information, and that's what this show is for, is to just share information so that people can get it and decide what they want, you know, and hopefully it'll resonate with someone out there. And if it's just one here, one there, it's worth it. It's totally worth it. So I don't know if you all thought that we just kind of accidentally ended up wearing the same shirts today, but I actually wanted everybody to wear these shirts because I love them. I designed them. It's where this whole thing started. I watched an episode of RuPaul and he said this saying, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, and immediately a light bulb went up and I was like, food isn't that important.
Say that again.
Nothing, this is what he said, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. And I was thinking, wow, right? And I was like, food isn't that important to put too much in the food and less in the health. I mean, come on, you know. But I also thought I'm not interested in being skinny. You know, that's not my goal to be skinny. It's to be healthy and be the best me. So I changed it to nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. And I came up with these shirts. Greg, if we stand up, will you get us?
Oh, yes,
Okay, so I want us to stand up.
And some people can't be skinny.
Exactly.
You just can't because of how you're built.
So look at this. This is the shirt. It says nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. There's this body on here that represents what a lot of women have always like. I'm getting in that two-piece this summer. When I get that bikini body, I'm where I want to be. But I did also want to put emphasis on your heart. So if you notice, this line up here represents your heartbeat. So it's a combination of, like we talked about earlier, it's not just about looking good.
Exactly.
It's not just about being healthy. It's both. That's what our goal is, moving towards that. So what do you think about that? Anybody, when you hear that saying nothing tastes as good as healthy feels?
I think yes, I love it.
That's very
Kudos.
catchy. Yeah, I like that.
It's a good reminder because sometimes I'll be ready to do something that I eat something that I shouldn't eat, and I'll be like, Tisha, nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels. And then I'm like, most of the time, I don't eat it. Most of the time. So, you like the shirt?
I love it. Because healthy does feel good.
Healthy
It
feels
feels
so
great.
good. Let's say that together. Healthy feels so good. Thank you guys so much for doing my show. Yes, this was amazing.
It really was.
Amazing.